Welcome back to Restore Thrive. We're talking about hip function as it relates to the low back and knees. So if you've had any sort of knee issue, or more importantly, a low back issue because of the importance of your spine and central nervous system, one of the things that we know is that hip function is a good correlate for how well your spine is going to function as well. Because if we don't have good mobility and good control around the hip, our spine tries to make up for that. It's something that it's not supposed to do, and so we end up burning through those duty cycles in our spine a lot faster. And so what we're going to talk about here is opening up the hip as it relates to kind of the whole function of the hip in any sort of squatting or hip hinging pattern. So this is especially relevant if you've ever gotten any sort of pinching through the front of the hip when you get in and out of that squat position or in and out of that hinge position, or you feel a little bit of ache through your back when you get in either of those shapes. This is a good way to start to open up the hip and take some load off the back. So we're going to take our monster band here. We're going to put this fairly low. We want this to sit around hip level when we get into a kneeling position. And so I'll take this down here. I'm going to kneel on the leg that I'm going to mobilize. I'm going to get into hands and knees, and then I want to get out laterally a little bit, put a little bit of distraction through the hip to kind of pull that hip away from the inside of the socket. I'm going to make sure that my knee starts centered over my hips, my hands are under my shoulders, my back is straight, and abs are engaged, and I'm going to let that band pull me to the side. And as I do that, I'm going to feel that back of the hip starting to stretch, or maybe even on the side of the hip. And then from there, I'm going to try to drop that hip back a little bit. And what does this look like? This is that bottom of the squat, hip crease below knee crease position. Hold that for a little bit, come back to the middle, and then come back forward. I can come back to my start position. I can walk my hands forward a little bit into a little bit of an opening position. A lot of times you'll feel this through the front of the hip if you're stiff there. And then back to start, out to the side, scour back around. We can sit there for a few seconds, come back up, and we're going to just repeat that sequence for 1 to 2 minutes on each leg. What we should see afterwards, again, we always want to test and retest. So see how that squat or that hip hinge felt before, get back into that squat position. How does that feel side to side? I notice on this side, I'm getting my leg and my hip out further. I'm just accessing the back of that hip and outside of the hip further. So that's a good sign that that little bit of stiffness that I had in my hip is cleared up. Give that a try. Let us know what you think. We'll talk to you again soon.